2019 is here. So welcome to Sifting for Soul 2019. Did a bit of an experiment for 2018. We're getting some momentum. We're getting some momentum. So I've been taking some cool photos. I've been traveling to some cool places, but you don't have to travel to cool places to take cool photos. Hampstead Heath is this beautiful park, pretty much in my backyard here in London. And I went out there to do some shooting, and I'm going to bring you along with me in this episode of Sifting for Soul. I'm going to show you some trees and things that I like to shoot and how I make my choices and move around. And then in future episodes, I'll show you how I edit them. But join me. And we're in my apartment right now, but that's not going to work. We got to go to Hampstead Heath. And while we're there, you and I, let's get it. Hello and welcome to Sifting for Soul. You are out with me on a brisk, what's today? Friday? A brisk Friday, and I'm out at Hampstead Heath in London. It's a beautiful park. It's kind of like Central Park in New York, but only in London. People come here and they walk their dogs, and no drone flying, but dog walking. And you can take some pictures. Lots of beautiful foliage and things to shoot, even on a January afternoon. So we're losing light in the sky, and came out here just to see what we can shoot, just to scout a little bit. The sky has a little bit of drama in it. It's a London sky right now, though. It's pretty white with lots of clouds and quite overcast. But what I found as I was wandering through is the light is in front of me at my 11 o'clock. What I found is that light is peeking through the trees and shining beautifully on some moss on the trees. And it sort of makes sense. Where the moss grows is kind of, where the light shines. So that makes sense. But I really love the way moss shows up in images. So I'm going to try to take one. One of the reasons why I hesitate to make videos is because I never know before I shoot if this shot is going to be shit. And so I don't want to get you all excited and start the engine if I don't intend to drive the car around the block, you know what I'm saying? So I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I'm going to release this video regardless of how this turns out, because one of my goals for 2019 is to build a bigger Sifting for Soul community and really put more product out there and make it a real thing. And I need your help to do that. So stay tuned and like, comment, and subscribe, and help me help others. Deal? Sweet. Okay, so we're gonna get set. So the gear is the standard gear. I've got my trusty Canon 5DSR, my 50 megapixel monster without the aliasing filter. I love this camera for landscape. I've got the GPS unit attached on top. It's the GP Golf Papa Echo 2. It's a little bit cumbersome to have all this gear. Newer cameras have GPSs built in, Wi-Fi built in, but they also don't have 50 megapixels. So if you're really into landscape, this is my favorite tool for that. We'll see what the new high megapixel mirrorless cameras have to offer sometime in the near future. But right now, I'm sticking with this puppy right here. Also have my circular polarizer on here, my DHG 82 millimeter, fitting my 24-70 version 2 lens. This is my favorite glass for shooting out here as well. Sometimes I want a little bit of reach, but I still want it to be super sharp. And so the 24-70 f2.8 version 2 does that job nicely for me. So I'm going to set that up on my tripod. Just got this tripod as a wonderful, unexpected Christmas gift. And so big thanks to that special you-know-who. Well, I know who. You may not know who, but I know who. Cool. So I have it set up and I have it metered, and it's metering at a 4-second exposure at f22. And I almost always shoot at f16 and above because I really want to get sort of the combination of sharp from the lens perspective, even though sharp from the lens perspective is probably closer to f8, and then sharp from the depth of field perspective. So I use pretty narrow aperture to get a large depth of field, and then I know that that's gonna really make my shutter speed slow. So since it makes that aperture really small, even though it's not dark out, but I'm gonna have a 4-second exposure. I'm also at ISO 100. I don't wanna crank up the ISO because if you've seen any of my videos, then you know that I hate, loathe, can't stand, dislike ISO noise. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a shot. I'm also gonna shoot it, I'm gonna bracket it because I wanna get some more detail out of the sky, which is part of the reason why I'm using the polarizer, because that helps get some of the detail out of the sky. And so let's go ahead and do that. And so I have it on a 2-second timer. I've also used live view, and then just like with actual night shots, I use live view because it keeps the mirror up already, and I can also see the composition a little bit better here. This tripod, I have it a little too high, so I have to stand on my tippy toes to see the composition, and I don't want to embarrass myself with how short I am.
And the result is what you see here with the metadata displayed on the image.
So as you can see, I've switched the camera to portrait mode. That of course doesn't change the exposure very much. Technically it could change the exposure if there was like high contrast light now in it at like the top of the image that wasn't in it before, or we lost some of the light from the right of the image. It can affect the metering. In this case, I don't actually expect it to affect the metering, and it has not. Check that with a half press of my shutter button, which does just the metering for me. And then I'm going to reshoot that in portrait, changing my composition just a little bit. Like that, and reshooting, also bracketing, same deal in live view, and I do live view so that I am able to see the composition more clearly, and so that it keeps the mirror up so that I don't have any shake in my shot. A 4-second exposure, you don't want any shake in that shot because it's going to show up as softness in the image. And so I really want a pin sharp image as much as possible. If I wanted to get more things in focus on the way up to the image, then I would do like focus stacking or something like that. Not necessary in this case. I rarely do focus stacking. It's not necessary in this case either. And then the last component is my zoom. So I'll look at the metadata and give you the exact zoom, but I think I'm just under 50 millimeters. And let's see how that looks. I like it. So there's just not that much detail coming through in the sky behind it, which is okay. We're gonna tease out the colors on the branches. And then I'm gonna try a couple different looks and see what I can get. So that's what I'm gonna work on, and I'll show you the results. Let me know if you have some ideas, if you see something beautiful and you're like, oh, I saw that in the video, you should have shot that. That happens to me all the time. I'll watch other YouTubers, Thomas Heaton, and I'll see a scene that he shot. And then while he is on his way to one scene, I'll see this beautiful place and I'm like, oh, I wish he took an image of that. So everybody sees something different. So if you see something beautiful and amazing, let me know in the comments, because I'll certainly come back here and try to shoot it and see if we can agree that it is in fact beautiful and amazing. So I'm gonna move around a little bit.
Here's the result in portrait mode. We had a little more light, so a slightly faster shutter speed. Otherwise, the metadata is the same.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this is a really long selfie stick, but it's not. It's just a tripod, and I didn't break it down because I'm going to be using it a lot. And even though it breaks down quickly, still I can't be bothered. And I'm walking carefully, looking down, because I don't want to step on these little prickly things. Well, if I have to explain that, you kind of deserve it again. Beautiful trees down through here. Wow, that's so I'd like to hike down through that way if you don't mind a little bit, see if we can get some more shots. What do you think? You up for it? to the camera lady?
Yes.
She said yes. I'm looking over my shoulder because my camera bag is probably about 25 feet away from me. And while this is sort of a nice family area, I feel they don't raise no suckers. But what I actually want you to see, I want you to come around here.
Okay.
And the tree that I shot is right behind me, over my right shoulder or off to your left. Now from this angle, this tree is just kind of a tree, and so it's quite important to get out and move around and see things and look. Photography has really helped me to look at the world differently and to notice things. It doesn't just help me in taking pictures, it helps me to change my perspective, and that's tremendously important. So I know I've done some joking around. You may not have noticed because, well, I'm not that funny. But still, this is the important part for me, the part where it completely changes my perspective. From this angle, I would walk right by this tree and just be like, oh, it's just a tree. But from the other side, with the light hitting the moss and with approaching a golden hour, it's just beautiful. And it's important to notice the beauty all around you, because sometimes it's you. And don't lose sight of that. And this is why I come out here. And so it just strikes me that from this side, it's just a tree. And from the other side, it's this beautiful thing. Hopefully I've captured for you. We'll find out. So same deal. So my exposure is changing just a little bit, but I've moved over. I'm basically in front of the tree that I shot from back there, and again, more just moss, more beautiful light peeking through the trees, and I'm gonna edit it and capture it. Just capturing the shit out of these photos. You know how I get down, yo, and that's on something. Yeah, I should tell you, well, we have a lot of time together, so this photography can be an exercise in sort of a lot of scouting and a lot of waiting. And so all these random thoughts pop in my head, and I'll share some of them with you, especially for like night shots, because night shots are like long exposures, and then you look at it and you're like, oh, I messed this up, or I messed that up, or it'd be a little better if I change the composition this way. So it can take a long time, so I have a lot of random conversations. And some of those conversations include prison shows, because sometimes on YouTube I'll look at prison shows, and then I realize that I am so far removed from that life. Like I grew up in that life. I didn't grow up in prison, but I grew up in that life. Around my father was in prison, and so like don't let the smooth taste fool you. Like I am not from the nice part of Southwest Philadelphia, if such a part exists. Yeah, so like random pretend prison talk comes out from time to time. And recently I was watching a clip, and then the person kept saying, you know, he put something on his family, on his, he says a word that I don't say, which is very complicated, but he just sort of kept saying it. And so I feel like I want to say it, but I'm not entirely clear what it means. So if I say on my sister, does that mean something bad will happen to her? I'm okay with that.
And that's about all we're going to have time for in this episode of Sifting for Soul.
All right, so that completes one part of the Hampstead Heath photo shoot. I've taken you with me in the field, shown you some of the shots. So I've obviously done the editing. As I said, you can never really tell if you're going to get shots out of it when you're there, which makes me hesitant to do some of the videos. But you know what? that's just a part of the photography experience. It's like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and you iterate. That's how life works as well. So I'm okay with that. Hopefully you're okay with that as well. I do like some of the shots that I got out of that, as you've seen. In future episodes coming up, I'm going to show you how I edited those shots, what choices I made, and I'm going to talk you through my thinking on why I made those choices. For you, I've got a little bit of a homework assignment. Hampstead Heath is in my backyard. I know I'm pretty fortunate to have Hampstead Heath in my backyard, but there's nothing really magical about it. For people who are from some cool place, it's not that cool place, it's just home. And so I'm not from here, but my point is there's something beautiful in your backyard. So my assignment for you is to go out and find that beautiful thing. Better stated. I was originally going to say my assignment for you is to go out and find that beautiful thing in your backyard. But that's not what I want you to do. What I want you to do is to go out and find that thing in your backyard and then show how it's actually beautiful. Not just the thing you look at every day. And post it. Take a picture, edit it, and post it. Share it. Here. Help build the community, if you will. See you next episode.